So thank you everybody for coming to this exclusive webinar for MECA members entitled Data Security and HR Digitization. Basically, how can employers better manage personal data and HR processes? So before we start, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping notes. Can I get the next slide, Juhao? All right. Yeah, so this webinar is going to be recorded. The recording will be sent to all registrants through email latest by, I think, next week. Sorry, there's a typo there. Please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your the Zoom tab for us to better manage questions that may come in. Please refrain from using the chat box, as that could lead to a lot of messages in the chat, and your question could get lost in in escalation. And also, as a treat for everyone today, please complete the feedback form at the end of this webinar to receive the slides as well as a 5 ringgit Grab voucher. Yeah. So all you have to do is just complete the feedback form so that we can improve future webinar experience for you, and you'll be entitled to a 5 ringgit Grab e-voucher. Right. So without further ado, I'd like to begin this webinar. So as the world emerges from the new normal, and as small businesses adopt technological solutions to optimize their business processes, the issue of data security has never been more pressing. And so without further ado, I'd like to invite my COO, Just.in, Chan Chu Hao, to discuss how employers can protect their data while managing it in a more convenient and efficient way as they improve their HR processes through digitization. Chu Hao, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Just Login's webinar on data security as well as HR, HR systems, right? So I think just a little background for everybody here in the audience today about myself. I have been in this industry for about 20 years in the internet industry. So for us, I've seen many companies go through this change from moving their systems into the internet and dealing with data security issues and all that. So what will happen is that over time, a lot of companies, after a while, I think that companies tend to fall into a few main mistakes, right? So to begin with, let me share a little bit about some feedback, right? What is the biggest data security threat in your company? I mean, I've seen this many times in many organizations, read a lot of news about this, seen it firsthand happen to companies that have started, seen it firsthand in companies that have joined as well. So just to give you a sense, right? What's the biggest data threat? Just some news articles to give you a hint. What's the biggest data threat? This is an employee that is based in Malaysia working for Singapore Telecom, Singtel. And what it does is that because of the leak, the employee actually leaked the information out to loan sharks. So can you imagine, this is a huge data security breach that companies, will potentially risk if, you don't manage your data security properly, right? And if you look into the recently COVID situation as well, one of the key things that we have noticed as well is that during this COVID situation, scams are actually more common. There are a lot of incidents of scam. There are a lot of incidents of cyber threats coming in, hitting companies, especially in this kind of MCO situation, because everyone's working from home. And now the systems are kind of like, in the past, a lot of systems are in the company. Now everyone's kind of working from home, where you're accessing your data from outside the company. So you'll find that there's this challenge for a lot of companies to secure the data, secure their information that they have. So what's the biggest threat of data security for a company? If you think about it, it's usually employee negligence. Most of the time, it's because of employees, right? It's either internally they didn't secure the data well, they leave a laptop out in the open, they store sensitive information in laptops or on their mobile phones. And especially nowadays, if your data is in spreadsheets or in Word documents and so forth, it's very easily spreadable, right? So that's the challenge, especially when it comes to you have all this information in a company. There's a big risk, especially when you deal with all these isolated files flying all around between employees. If your systems are still very manual, you'll find that's how people work. They type everything in Excel, they send it to the managers to get it approved and so forth. All this information is highly insecure if you think about it. So what's the first thing that companies can do? Um, First thing companies can do to look at is internally, right? You have to review internally what your processes are and whether you have done enough assessment of your secure risk, as well as you have looked into educating your employees how to secure the data. If you think about that, right? How many of you actually gone out there and done data security briefing for your own team? You have not done it before, you have to do it. Almost right after this webinar, you have probably had to start thinking about educating your employees how to do simple things like you secure their passwords. So the first thing is to train your users, right? Build security processes and policies, put them in place, and you have to educate your employees. Like, think about it. How many times if your passwords are simple as passwords? We got many cases where passwords that has been given out by the vendors, they don't change it, right? You maybe bought a router, you don't even change the default password of the router. And it's very easy to hack. Or you bought a computer, then the data IT administrator just type password for everybody in the company, and maybe a handful of employees just don't change their password. They don't have a data a security policy at all. It's not in place. It's not enforced. Especially companies, small medium companies with no time, no resources to deal with this situation, right? And the worst thing is that you should also look into companies don't even classify the data. What is considered sensitive information? What is considered less sensitive information? So is sharing salaries considered sensitive? I believe so. Sharing bank account numbers, is that sensitive? Sharing NRIC numbers, is that sensitive? This information needs to be emphasized. This information needs to spread to employees. Let them know what is between sensitive and non-sensitive data. So that's a challenge, especially when you don't have a proper classification within a company. You don't think about these things. But when the last thing you want to do is to share out salary levels of your managing director with bank account information, with the NRIC details. Who knows, to a hacker, and his information is not encrypted, the risk is even higher. Main thing to look at is that you probably need to look at some internal risk assessments, right? Systems that you procure from the market, that you buy in the market, do you ask the right questions? For example, do you ask your vendor, is my data secure? Okay. How do you secure my information? Does your IT procurement process go through at least a basic form of question with the supplier? Tell me what's your backup policy, security policy, data business continuity policy. Where's the data residing? Where, in which country, right? What if the internet is down? How do I get access? Is there a backup? What's the what's the longevity of the company? How long has the company been in business? These are all questions to ask. But problem is that when you procure thinking of a system, most companies don't go through the rigorous process of asking these questions, because these questions will make or break your company. Imagine what if your payroll vendor provider suddenly goes bankrupt overnight, right? And the data is now in some hacker's hand. Your personal data, your bank record number, your salary levels, and imagine your employees getting this information gets in the hands of scammers. Look at the risks you put yourself in, right? So you have to think about these things and think about the assessment and whether or not even your vendors are reliable enough. I mean, if companies are selling you systems like $2, one ringgit, 2 ringgit a user, think about the risk. Can their business survive? Right? They can sell you at a cheap cost, but over time, can the business survive, and can they invest in the security that you need? So these are all good questions to ask and something to get you to think about, right? Does the vendors that you that you actually procure your services from, do they have all the right certification? Are they ISO certified? Are they are they backed by very reliable service provider? You know, is the data centers with players like Amazon, Microsoft, or is it with Amazon, or is it with a small time hosting company? These are all questions you need to ask. So the next step of the situation is also to make sure that you secure your data. Now that you've reviewed internally, okay, the next step is to make sure that your data is secured. So basic questions to ask: is your password secure? How many times your password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Do you have implemented password security requirement whereby you need to have a mix of alphanumeric and symbols to do this kind of situation? So you have to evaluate this. Does your system detect that? Does your system emphasize that it needs such passwords to be in place before they log in? Some systems don't even give you the capability to enforce it within your organization. So you have to start thinking about your systems that you procure. How do you secure that data? And the worst thing is that when your information is still on manual mode, right? Your information, especially HR information, you share it on Excel spreadsheet, you share it on PowerPoints, Word documents, and so forth. These files are easily spreadable. So your data could easily be spread all around, right? To your competitors, to scammers, to hackers. So if you don't have a system to store critical information, there's always a risk of being hacked, right? Now, I mean, our recommendation is that when you start thinking about, look at your manual processes within your company, you have to think about the fact that if you don't have a system to store it, what's the risk for you, right? And right now, companies don't have a proper excuse because they are cloud systems. Cloud systems allow you to store all this information on reliable systems that's on the cloud. It's very lightweight and low investment for your company. Most of it is just subscription basis. And you think about these cloud vendors that's out there, that's reliable, that's been in business for like 10, 20 years, you find that they have invested in all the security measures already. Okay, because in order for them to have a few thousand customers supporting their system, they need to invest in this in order to make sure that the system service is always up and running and reliable. They have business continuity policies in place. They have audit trails in place. They've invested heavily in security. There's a manpower there 24/7 looking after your data. Question back to you as a business owner is, does your internal team has the resources to do this that a cloud vendor can do? So systems now are no longer just systems that you install in-house. They're highly risky. The best way is for you to keep it on the cloud, which they are managing the data 24/7, right? And a lot of these systems out there provide even two things like two-factor authentication. That means not only do you need to type in a password, you need to verify with authenticator on the mobile app or SMS. So there's a lot of cloud systems out there already in place to support you to this journey, especially when you're going through your data security policies. First thing you need to do is make sure your data is not physically in your office. So there's less risk for you to getting it lost or having employee turnover, disgruntled employee taking and leaving it. In a cloud system, at least your data is secure. In the event that your office goes into, there's a burglary at the office, these data are still intact. At least it's on the cloud. So for us, Just Login, we provide an all-in-one HRMS system, right? It's a cloud-based system that allows you to store all these critical employee information on the cloud so that you always had it ready. It's secure, it's highly compliant, it's feature-rich, it caters to your needs. And once it's on the other benefit of leaving data on the cloud, not only is the fact that it will be more secure, it allows to provide your employees a very highly usable mobile kind of setup, which we envision this is what it will look like, which our customers are really enjoying. Let's take a look at this video. Let me just stop share for a while just to make sure that, okay. So now you're seeing what it potentially could look like. With all these and our mobile apps, there's less risk because you're not dealing with physical files, right? Pay slips are done through the mobile app. Application of leave is done through the mobile app. All these go straight into the database. There's no physical files. There's no physical emails going back and forth, dealing with all these. So your information will always be on the cloud, and it's secure and readily available straight away to employees without you having bearing the risk of leaking data, right? The next thing to look at is that you have now looked at internal policies, right? And you have also looked at your data systems that you have put in place. The last place to look at will be your premise, your office, because this is the main part of data security. You could easily have a stranger that walks into your office, pick up a laptop from finance and move out of the office without everybody knowing. So how do you secure your premise? Now, one of the key challenges of, especially now with COVID, is that a lot of people are working from home on doing part-time work, right? That means they come in office a couple of days and they leave office a couple of days. So people are losing track of who's supposed to be in office. So it's very easy after a while to like you will not have a good sense of who's supposed to be in office at which day. And even if maybe you got a new employee who just joined who does not familiar with everyone else in office, everyone is just assuming that the person's an employee, but he might not be, or he might have left the organization, but he's still coming to work. Because you have very poor workforce visibility, especially when you got this kind of shift rotation situation now, when part of our people are working from home, part of people are working from the office, and so forth, right? So this is adds another dimension to securing your data in your office. One of the key solutions that we can think of is that you got to put in place a proper, time and attendance management system, which in this case, we provide actually such a solution that allows you to have a bird's eye view of where employees are, whether they are following a roster. Okay, maybe they have followed a roster and they're supposed to clock in, and at least supposed to clock in the right place, and whether there's any uh, facial recognition in place to make sure that the right employee is clocking in at the right time at the right place. So all this is really a web-based system provided for you to secure your environment, to secure your office space, right? So how you imagine this will look like in a setup in your personal office, it could be as, just watch the following video.
SafeClock is an all-in-one contactless temperature scanner, door access, and employee attendance solution to help you transition your employees back to the workplace safely. Employees can clock in and out of work daily via facial recognition. Their timings and temperatures are automatically captured in a split second and sent into your online portal in real time. The device detects high temperatures and will send administrators an alert via email or push notification if any employee is running a fever. SafeClock can also protect your workplace by acting as a door access. You can configure access based on registered faces, body temperature, and even detection of masks. Unregistered visitors will still have their photo, temperature, and time of entry recorded in your online portal for contact tracing purposes. It is easy to register employees on SafeClock. Simply tag the unregistered user photo to an employee. Employees' clock timing on the device will be reflected in attendance reports to track working hours and overtime. Create multiple shifts easily to manage staggered hours or split shifts. SafeClock is also integrated back to Just Login's full suite of HR applications, allowing you to seamlessly manage employee payroll, leave, attendance, and expenses, even when you work from home.
In Singapore, you can also integrate your work premises safe entry into SafeClock. Automatically check into safe entry when you walk through the door.
Clock in to work safely with SafeClock by Just Login.
So as you can see from the video itself, right, to secure your premise is not too difficult. I mean, there's already devices out there like our SafeClock itself that allows you to secure your premise, providing linking AI face recognition to your door access. So only certain people with the right face who can actually enter your premise. So, and the best thing is this information is also captured on the server. The picture is taken, is matched against what the profile of the person. So only the right person can enter. And this at the same time doubles up the temperature scanning as well as temperature, as well as a clock in, clock out, clock in system. So that way, it will be able to capture everybody that moves through your office. So visitors as well, it's all moved through your office. So that way, you're sure that you have a good audit trail of what's happening with your office space, especially your premises. You can put this in front of those secure places like your warehouse, maybe your finance team, make sure that they clock in before they can access the area. So this is also one area to consider, having your premise secured. And with now with COVID, having it not only just secure, you have to make sure that the person's not running a fever as well. So things are getting a bit more complicated, but there's a solution for it. And now with the AI technology being advanced, these technology are readily accessible. So in a nutshell, you have to consider a few things for securing your data. First of all, look at it internally, right? Whether or not your internal processes are in place, you're educating your employees correctly, you're telling them the right things, providing the right guidance and the policies. Next thing to consider is make sure you have the right systems in place to secure data. Is your data stored in the right place, where they should be, where it can be easily accessed by external parties? These are all food for thought. Last place is to make sure that you secure your premise. Make sure that the premise is secured so that only the right people can go into that premise. And the benefit of all this is for Just Login itself, we provide a comprehensive suite of solution, all the way from payroll. We can do the payroll from there, from time and attendance, from leave management to expense. So HR has all the tools that is required to run all this in a very secure environment and in a robust cloud-based system, right? So you don't have to deal with HR don't have to deal with all these security policies or deal with technologies they don't understand. It's all just a web-based subscription basis, and immediately you got a very robust system to help you handle all the company information. Now, we run these webinars, Just Log In with Self. We run all these webinars on a regular basis, almost every month. We will find an interesting topic. We work with interesting partners to share some knowledge, to get some, share with our audience, some ideas that we see in the market. And hopefully during this time when everyone's working from home, have time to view some more information and some insights, please feel free to go to this website, justlogin.com. MY webinars, and take a look at our past webinars, because we actually record all of them and we share with our audience, and it's free for all. There's no fees. You can just go in and have a look at our past topics that we've covered. All right. So hopefully today's session has been a bit helpful. Given the angle is more from a HR perspective, what are the areas you need to consider when it comes to data security? Let us know how we can help. Please feel free to scan the QR code that you see in front of you. You will pop up with a survey, and after filling out the survey, we will actually thank you with a 5 ringgit e-voucher of Grab e-voucher. So just a appreciation for joining us today in our webinar, and to thank you for your time this afternoon, all right, as a token of appreciation. So I hope it's been a useful session. So if you have any questions, there's a Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to type your questions and questions there, and I'll try my best to answer them if there are any questions on these topics that I covered today.
Yes, thank you, Chu Hao, for that really insightful session. Certainly been very interesting learning about data security and the importance of keeping everything safe. Yes, of course. Now we're gonna leave like maybe 10 minutes for for a Q&A session for Chu Hao. If anybody have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and yeah, and Chu Hao will be readily here to answer them live. Yeah. Jika ada apa soalan-soalan boleh letak dalam apa chat box Q&A. Ya, kita boleh tolong jawab untuk anda. Ya, dalam bahasa Melayu pun okey. Tak ada masalah.
Yeah, I'll try to answer in Malay if I
Ya,
can.
tak ada apa, tak ada apa. Yeah, we'll help you translate. Sorry. Fine. Yeah, dalam bahasa. So jika tidak, boleh scan ini survey form. Lepas tu tolong isikan dan kita akan hantar Grab voucher RM5. Boleh option jika nak guna ride atau nak guna Grab food. Yeah, thank you. Oh, we have one question. Okay, so Monica is asking. Okay.
Yeah, so you call what capacity? There's no capacity limit. You can go a few hundred, 500 is not a problem for us. You can store that information into your device. So depending, I think a few things here will be to consider your 500 employees. Are they all in one place, or are they all spread across different places? So also the question will be is that how many door access do you need? We can definitely consider that. I mean, because if your office is one office only 50 people, that's easy to access, right? You got 500, fine. They're all in the same place. That's no problem too. Just yeah, with a cloud-based system, we can scale up, we can scale down. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chuno.
Yes. Globally, okay, global. So Monica came out in that session. Global, Singapore, Malaysia, US, Netherlands, India. I don't see that as an issue. You can always, because I think the main thing here is that do you want them on the same database? You want them on a separate database? So it really doesn't matter. I mean, the US sometimes they want to put the US team in one database, right? So the Safe Cloud will access one database per se. And so depending on which office you're putting in place. So yes, you can put it as many places as you like, as many employees as you want. Right now, I mean, we tested up to 1,000. That's not an issue.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I also like to add that Safe Cloud is very regionalized. So for Singapore, it's integrated with Safe Entry, and for here in Malaysia, it's integrated with MySejahtera. So you can always be sure that anybody who enters your office premises, Safe Cloud will be the the frontliner in that sense, in protecting you against COVID. Vaccinations are starting, but as the slow rollout churn also, it's better to be safe than sorry lah. Like you don't want a COVID case being discovered in your office and then you have to close for a few days for sanitization. It'll just be a whole lot of headache. Nowadays you want to keep your business open as frequent as possible. Yeah, so it's best to avoid everything and take the best precautions and whatnot. Any more questions? Right. Okay, I guess it's really 3:30. We've managed to finish half an hour early, I would say. Yeah, but certainly be a fun, insightful session. Thanks again, Chu Hao, and thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Yeah, so we hope to see you in the next one. We'll be having another session on the 21st of April. That is more to responsible restructuring practices. So, as the VSS, the voluntary separation scheme that most companies are currently undergoing, there's always the question of like, what is the best way to help your employees relocate or reskill to different jobs, or if not, it's important to keep like companies afloat at times. It's really hard decisions have to be made. So what's the best practices? Mecca will be there to basically give you advice on how to the best ways of approaching that. And what do you do when you're basically operating with a smaller and leaner workforce? Then we also are going to come in as giving you tips on how to basically manage to keep your business operations in optimal efficiency. Yeah. Also, we also have like a tax webinar. I mean, like April is tax season. yeah, we have to submit to LHDN. I also need to, yeah, that's a good reminder. So I also need to submit my income tax by April 30th, end of this month. So we're also going to be having a tax workshop basically on how to submit your tax submission. You know, Patricia is here to basically help you answer questions on that on the 17th of April, Saturday. Yeah, Saturday at 3 p.m. So yeah, so do come, you know, if you're not really sure on how to basically generate your Form EA or Form E for, you know, like Monica has over 500 employees, you know. You know, if you do have to do everything by paper, it's going to be a long and tedious process, you know. So how is basically you can like do bulk imports and basically everything more easier and on the fly. Yeah, so basically, you know, with digitalization trends, everything is going online, everything is much easier. So really you don't have to, you know, scratch your head and focus on all these tedious tasks when you should be focusing on growing your business. So yeah, we also have that available for you all for free. We will be sending like email invites to that to everybody, to all the registrants of this webinar. So if you have the time, please do come and attend and be able to learn something yourself. All right, so I don't see any more new questions. So I guess we can basically end the session. So thank you again, terima kasih, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Terima kasih.
Bye-bye.
Bye.